Rav Moshe ben Maimonides, also known as the Rambam, wrote in his introduction to his commentary to the Mishnah that the Aggada in the Talmudic text contain the deepest, most meaningful issues and enlightening teachings with regard to Pardes, the mystical aspect of the Torah, the hidden and esoteric aspect of the Torah. But in addition to this, Rambam also wrote in the continuation of his commentary to the Mishnah the following. In Seder Nashim, in Sanhedrin, chapter 10, also known as Perek Halek, on page Quf Mem He of Rav Yosef Qafer's translation from the original Arabic. You find in note Gimel the following, in commentary Gimel. We have already mentioned to you a number of times that all the disagreements that are between the sages, the Chachamim, and that aren't things that are with regard to actions, actual upholding of practical Jewish law, but rather establish an opinion alone, but an opinion which is among the sages, not with regard to doing a particular law. There is no place to arrive at a legal conclusion, decision, lifsuk, in practical Jewish law, halacha, according to any of them, according to any one of them. This is quite different from what to me seems to be the standard approach of much of ultra-Orthodox Judaism in modern times, and probably since the middle of the Middle Ages or Dark Ages. And that approach is one which seems to equate even the metaphorical stories which contain extremely deep teachings within the Talmud and also later Midrashim. They seem to often equate different statements in these types of stories and texts to the legal statements of actual rulings in the Talmudic texts, representative of the decrees of the Beit Din HaGadol, the Sanhedrin, the Mosaic court, which is established during Moses' lifetime, which the Almighty has commanded us to heed and obey. You can find, for example, in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 8 through 11, among many other places. I often refer to that particular verse because that's where it mentions how you were to go there when there were disputes and disagreements among you in order to find the authoritative ruling. It's easy to remember one passage instead of several different ones. You can see that this is not merely Rambam's opinion. If you look in earlier texts, such as that of Shmuel ha-Nagid, who lived in the year 993 to 1056, he wrote the following, and this is you can find in English in the book Aiding Talmud Study by Aryeh Carmel, published by Feldheim Publishers. Shmuel ha-Nagid wrote the following with regard to the meaning and use of Aggada. Everything mentioned in the Gemara, the Talmud, which is not directly connected with the halachic aspect of the commandment, the actual carrying out of the commandment. One should learn from such statements only those things which our minds can grasp. It is important to know that all matters which our sages established as law in connection with the commandment transmitted by Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses our teacher, who received it from the Almighty, cannot be augmented or diminished in any way, because of the passage I referred to earlier in Deuteronomy chapter 17. However, the Aggadic explanations they rendered of biblical verses were in accordance with their individual views and the ideas which occurred to them. We should learn from them insofar as our minds can grasp, but otherwise we should not build upon them. If this is true of the Talmudic text, then how much more is this true of the later texts, some of which weren't known of until the Middle Ages, and some of which were very likely written around the same time period. If that's the case with the various opinions of the Talmudic sages, alayhim hasholem, peace be upon them, then how much more so for later authorities? Rambam's son, Rav Avram ben Rambam, the son of Moses Maimonides, writes in his introduction to the Aggada. You can find a translation of the following in Jacob and Yaakov, Aggada of the Babylonian Talmud by Rabbi Jacob ibn Habib, revised and translated in English by Rabbi S.H. Gleek in Volume 1. He writes the following, the son of the Rambam: "And think not, like those who do not grasp the real truth, that every single darash, every single allegorical story, or so-called allegorical explanation of the passage uttered by the sages, was handed over by tradition, like the principal parts of the Torah, because the fact is otherwise, that the explanation of such passages which do not involve either a dogma of a religious principle, fundamentals of the Torah faith, such as the oneness of the Almighty, or not to serve things other than the Creator, various beliefs which are intrinsically connected to upholding the actual law, or any law of the Torah, such passages, explanations of the sages, have no traditional bearing, but were explained by the authors merely according to their own knowledge and feeling. And many of them are used merely as figures of speech in a poetic style, and are explained in that poetical form. Thus I have no doubt that when Rabbi Yehoshua said in Zebahim 1:16, regarding the sentence in Exodus chapter 18 verse 1, and Jethro heard, what did he hear? Rabbi Yehoshua said, the word of Amalek. This was merely an opinion, not a tradition, and his bringing of evidence to support his opinion proves that it is so. For in a tradition we need no evidence. Furthermore, the fact that all other sages differ with him on this explanation proves this also. The same can be said regarding the explanation of, and it goes on and on, the son of Rambam, Rav Avram ben Rambam, continues. You can find more about this issue, the intended use of Aggada and Midrashim, on a number of websites. One very popular one, I think, nicely put together, is called Mesora.org. You can find that at www.mesora.org. I also have a few articles on my own website. If you have any questions, disagreements, please let me know. I prefer in video form. After a few days, I'll probably turn off the text comments. Till then, Shabbat Shalom.